Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Gods Among Men, written by Hell's Kitchen Sink. I confess, emissary, I do not quite understand. Oh, the chosen diplomat of humanity's gods smile, leaning back. Please, share your concerns with your grossness. Well, your form, it confuses me. Really? The god drained one of the small bulbs of fluid, leaning back. The heavenly vessel hovered in the aether, at the edge of the system's world. A small parcel sat in his lap. The gods of the system had offered it, a gift, a symbol of their intentions. Tell my fellow Kachak, the endless devourer. I swept my hand towards the corner of the room. The room ended abruptly, cut off by a line of absolute darkness. On the world of Tenpic, the psychosynthetic dwellers are ever-ambling creatures. Their high metabolism requires constant exposure to sunlight, and so they wander the great central band continent in a never-ending trek to avoid nightfall, characterized by the sharp definition thanks to the thin atmosphere of the world. Those who slow fall behind, closer to the dividing line between life and death. He is what the Tenpic fear the most. Very impressive, said the god, scratching behind one of his ears, trailing his fingers through his brilliant red hair. It was long, shaggy, and hung across his bright blue eyes. I assume he is, behind the darkness. Lets the imagination do all those spooky things, doesn't it? Quite, I said, nonplussed. Or Ratakafar, matriarch of phages. Before they achieved spaceflight, the Pa were preyed upon by the great Tar. The quick and agile Ka, and the vicious ambush predators, the Fa. She who has the body of the Tar and the limbs of the Ka, and the head and tail of the Fa. She represents the most primal terror of being devoured, as was the fate of 9 Pa out of 10 for most of their recorded history. Even now her temples contain the sacred predators, and miscreants are fed to them, or occasionally the unlucky, when the miscreants are unavailable. A reminder that they were prey, and always shall remain prey. Oh yes, the god nodded. Excellent teeth. Reminds me of Jormungandr. Very impressive. Very frightening. I bet Pa absolutely loathe her. No, of course. All great attune, the frequency which kills, who represents the shatter tone for the crystalline. Look, I rather feel as though you're trying to tell me something here. What? Exactly. Do you represent... Well, said the emissary. Quite a few things. Let me see. There's a phenomenon on the human's world. You see, the atmosphere is somewhat unstable. Hot and cold pressure systems meet. At different levels of humidity can cause water to precipitate. The same situation can cause the electric charge of the atmosphere to become unbalanced. Sufficient imbalances leads to localized transfer of charge, creating a temporary stream of plasma. That's called lightning. The momentarily high-energy environment creates a vacuum, which implodes. The humans call it thunder. Fearsome, I said, nodding slowly, understandingly. I find divine attribute. Does it kill many people? Well, not really, the god said, chuckling. Does a little property damage, starts the occasional fire, but the thunder's largely harmless. Scary, but harmless. The lightning, well, there's a human saying that mentions how unlikely it is to hurt them. My brow analog furled. Again, I fear that we are experiencing something of a translation issue. Look, I think I understand where all of this is coming from. My brother talked me through it. He wanted to come along, but something demanded his attention. Now, your government, a theocracy, you have cowed the civilians that gave birth to you, made them into your slaves, all of that. You use them as food source, feeding on their beliefs, demanding things of them, so on and so forth, running quite an impressive little stellar empire. Of the battle fleet, by the way. My question is not meant to offend. Some gods are simply loath to cooperate. They believe that they can keep their civilization to themselves, act as sole tyrants, rather than benefiting from a mutualistic relationship. You, said Ratakafar, her voice muffled by many sharp teeth, do not appear to have such an antagonistic attitude. The god's lips pulled back, revealing sharp enamel fangs, shining a bright white. I was given to understanding it was meant as a friendly gesture in human society. A smile. I tried not to let it get to me. Ratakafar, claws extended, and her own fight and flight reflexes clearly tried to overpower her sapiens, to set her into killing frenzy against an unknown predator that was indicating it wanted to eat her. Ratakafar, I said, warningly. Yes, said the emissary. Broadly correct. We have no interest in going it alone. He tilted his head towards the other human god. This one was similar in appearance, though his hair was cut short, his garments far smaller, covering less of his epidermis, but still white-haired and red-headed. Set, the god of violence and foreigners. He represented a subdivision of the natural order amongst the humans who worshipped his pantheon. Of course, he was also the guardian against the darkness. He fought a Bep each night in order to protect Ra, part of his penance for murdering his brother Osiris. Set nodded silently, his eyes still fixed on Kachak. He hadn't looked away from the god of darkness for the entire tete-a-tete. I see, I said, trying to follow the statement. Look, my point is this. Gods represent the attitude of the universe towards the sapient race. The way they view the universe is the way their gods evolved. In an entropic universe like ours, full of predators, resource shortages, and dangerous natural phenomenon, we represent the things that they fear most. I can't help but notice that you both look quite a lot like humans. Well, they can be very scary, said Thor cheerfully. But somewhat relatable. You understand the difficulty, don't you? If you look like humans, well, they have something of a tendency to treat you like humans, to not fear you, do not respect you as they should. You really should be more, inhuman, terrify them. Ah, I know what you mean. You see, we have plenty of such gods. Well, had. There was this one time, precious object that had stolen from me. My brother and I learned that it had been stolen by such a god, who intended to marry one of the most beautiful goddesses. She refused to cooperate with our scheme, so I was forced to dress up as her. We went to the hall of the other god, with me in all the bridal veil and gown, and when we found the precious object, after fooling the other god, I proceeded to beat him to death. Savaged the other giants within the hall for their obstinance. A shocked silence weighed heavily in the air as I stared blankly at the emissary. The admission of Decide. I'm sorry, the joke must not translate well. My kind find great humor in big, strong men dressed in delicate, feminine clothing. You killed another god, said the great Tude, beautifully tonal voice fluctuating slightly. Oh, stone dead, it was hardly the first time. I've killed a fair number of gods in my time. None for quite a long time, of course. We're all far more civilized now. Anyway, what you're referring to are what the humans might call monsters, and certainly I have plenty of experience with them. I should hope so, I said, my voice strained. At any rate, I'm sorry. Please allow me to take a moment. I am receiving an urgent message. I stood up, sweeping to the communications suite. Out of sight, Zakuk, the god of bloody invaders, a god who had come about when a foreign civilization had risen on our home world, putting thousands of my worshippers to the sword. He had been my people's god, of course, but he'd never tired of slaughtering them, making him an ideal commander. Zakuk, my good friend, it's good to get away from these gods. They're all difficult. The fleet is out of position, growled Zakuk through the mouthful of blood. They are scattered, going in various directions. They are claiming to act on your orders, Fitzik. What is happening? I cannot countermand an order from you. I stared blankly and struck the frequency modulator, contacting the mortal leader of the invasion fleet. He appeared on the screen, his forehead on the ground, in a position of obeisance. Mortal! I thundered, letting my voice fill the blood, and, oh yes, I liked this new term, thunder, that belonged to the god of sun that burns, letting my radiance pour through the communication to burn his skin. His screaming filling the air. Return to your position immediately. Instruct the other ships of the fleet to do the same. But my lord, you ordered us to break communications. Only your suite can properly contact us all and provide the counter-orders. You contacted me with the orders personally, not an hour ago. I cursed internally. It would take hours. I stepped away from the suite after blasting the cowering mortal into a pillar of salt. Emissary, I'm sorry, something has come up. I must cut this meeting short. Ah, I understand. Please, allow me to offer my gift first. He set down a parcel and opened it slowly, tilting it towards me. I frowned. A warhammer? Oh, quite so. He took the warhammer out of the package. It seems rather short. Aren't such weapons meant to be made two-handed? My brother commissioned it for me. In trying to cheat the makers, he wound up introducing a flaw into it, giving it a shorter handle than it was meant to have. The god's eyes twinkle. He was always a troublesome one. Still, it's a very fine weapon. If the wielder throws it, it'll always return to the hand. I wanted you to have it before I left. Interesting, I said, impressed despite myself. A primitive weapon, not much good in arrow stars and vast fleets, but still the obvious puissance. How does it work? The god's teeth shined again, sharp and fearsome, as he slipped his wrist through the strap, letting the heavy metal head fall until it was hung by the strap from his wrist. He casually spun it up twice around his wrist as the partner leaned forward in his chair, eyes fixed on Kachek. Let me demonstrate, said Thor. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.